Jack didn't think I had my toner right.
You can see how I stepped on the microphone here. Welcome back to the No Mulligans podcast.
You almost did it again.
Well, yeah, I almost did it for a second. I had to think. But yeah, welcome back. Hold on, cut it here. Or
no, let's keep going. We used to do bloopers to start.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, we'll keep it
roll
rolling.
it, Tate.
Roll it. Welcome back to the No Mulligans podcast here in the studio at Franklin Bridge. And before we sat down to do this podcast, we were setting up. I was about to start the camera, and Scott started talking, and wow, I mean, this is going like 110% polar opposite away from our DNA on this podcast. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and it's going. I don't even know how to title this, but like, I'm basically going to poke holes in any sort of golf instruction and club fitting,
Which actually
to
could
the
be
point of like, you shouldn't do any of it.
Yeah, which I was about to say, like, this actually could be a really good podcast for the people who do listen. Maybe like your buddies have like said like, well, you know, golf's hard, or like I don't want to get a lesson, or X, Y, or Z. Like, this could be an excellent podcast to send to them.
Worse, right?
Yeah,
and they do. For a lot of people, they have that experience.
This could be something to send to them. So let's start poking holes in this thing, man. Where do you want to take this?
Don't you ever take a golf lesson, ever. Just listen to the podcast.
That's a horrible.
Hang out with us on Play with the Pod on March 31st at Johnson City, Tennessee for $750.
Oh, that's a great promo before we get into it. Yeah,
slid it in there real
quick. Play with the Pod, March 31st, Johnson City Country Club, and I mean, it's $750 for a team, $250. Yeah, you're supporting the podcast, helping us out with making this program better for you guys. So,
and we get to do what I really enjoy doing, which is playing with people that I want to enjoy playing with.
Bingo. Which is actually a perfect segue into the podcast, which is like, golf's not that hard. Like, don't get a golf lesson, don't get fit, just go out there and have a good time.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of that's like, just do that. Like, who cares? I wasn't talking to Tony. Like, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, nobody cares how you play except for you. And really, the only reason you care how you play is because you're worried about what it says about you if you play bad, and really what other people say about you, like, may or may not say about you because you play bad.
Yeah.
Like, so who cares? Just figure it out. I can't figure it out. Like, what if you actually could? What if you didn't need a golf lesson to figure it out?
Hey,
get rid of all this. Get rid of you. Like, literally get rid of everything. No YouTube. No Golf Digest. No Golf Channel. No buddies. Just go out there. Just you figure it out. You can break 80 without any help.
Yeah, I just don't think that's possible.
So the argument to that. So this is actually an exercise that the 5 elements of effective thinking challenges you to do. Just take everything you think you know about whatever the subject matter is, and detail out everything you think you know. Then do the opposite and try to throw the opposing view at every single one of those points. Like, you know how much help I got to break 80 as a kid? Like, I took maybe one lesson a summer, and I don't remember doing any of the stuff he asked me to do, because all I did was pull out the Golf Digest magazines and pull out their little booklets that you used to be able to tear out, and I tried every tip. I just tried all of it. All I did was just try stuff.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So when I'm telling you, like, don't take a golf lesson, I didn't take one. I broke par without really taking a golf lesson of any level of meaning. And I think taking one lesson doesn't really truly count as, like, taking lessons to get better.
This is the interesting point. I think this is, like, where you're getting at, because this is the interesting thing. It's like, if you love the game enough, like, if you really want to, like, go and figure it out, like, you will. It might take a little longer than you think it might, and
it might take you several years longer.
It might take, and like, you know, you might suck for a very long time, and you know, it might not be the most fun process, but like, you will.
And some people never find it, and they've never taken a golf lesson their entire life. Like, Austin Jean wouldn't be where he's at without taking lessons. He was stuck, and he needed somebody to guide him where he needed to go. So, like, But then, like, we could say that that's the case. Like, there's a clear line in the sand as when that started and when the performance changed. So you could say the lessons got him there. But what if I didn't give him a lesson? I'm just asking questions instead and let him find it. What if the reason you don't get better is because you're asking all the wrong questions? 5 elements of effective thinking. Item number 2 is ask questions. I just see how you're stumped. Like, you're trying to think, like, is it possible?
Well, I'm not stumped.
Because people ask the question, like, I'm just so inconsistent. And, like, I just swing too hard. Swing slower. Like,
you know what? Okay.
Like, when they keep swinging too hard, slow down. It's not that hard.
So I don't think the question is like, okay, like, could you break 80 without, getting fit or getting a lesson? I think the question really is more along the lines of like, yeah, just like keeping on asking deeper and deeper questions. For example, you remembered yesterday I came in here after my round. I was telling you about that guy that I played with, right? And he was talking about like, I popped the drive up. I popped my driver up every time. He'd popped his drive up like 3 out of 4 holes that we played at that point.
Oh, sorry. I'm laughing because those are ones like if Carson was in the cart with me, dude, we would be, when the guy's driving up, we would be rolling.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because it's funny.
But like this guy was like just getting super frustrated,
Makes it even funnier.
And like I think what's interesting is, to your point, you could go in and be like, well, just here's what you do in order to not do that. But what is that doing? So I actually asked him the question. I was like, well, why do you think you're doing that? Because the question that popped up.
Taught you well, Padawan.
Well, I don't think it's
so good.
I don't think it was me challenging him as much as like, I don't care. Why do you think you're doing that? Like you
actually empowered him to start trying to solve the problem.
Yes, you're right, but I came from it from the point of like, listen, dude, I don't want to hear you bitch about this again. Pardon my French.
That was your way of saying, like, dude, just shut up, man.
Yeah, well, like kind of, but like, and I'm asking like, well, why do you think you're doing that? I'm like, well, if you're getting frustrated, the only logical question I should be asking myself is, well, let's not do the thing that is what we're doing. So how do we do that?
Yeah.
But you see this circle that we're going in, right? It's like, well, if you care enough, you will change it. And I think that's the cycle that you're trying to go in at this point.
Well, so I've done this with 2 players. One of them is like taking lessons from this coach. He wants me to change all this. Like, I can't do it. I was like, why does he want you to change that? Well, I don't. I was like, why does he want you to change it? Well, I don't know. Okay, go figure that out. Okay. Well, do you think that'll make you better or worse? Well, I don't know. Well, you think you should try? Like the whole answer is like, he actually is the one that's keeping him from getting better.
Let me ask you a devil's advocate question then. Last podcast, we talked about your students to like not asking where you're taking them. You should say like, I should not. People should not ask where I'm.
No, I'm supposed to do the opposite. Oh, go ahead.
So I'm countering your point here.
Yeah.
Shouldn't, as the student, you ask questions about where you're going or where the swing's headed?
You should ask questions as a student. The thing is, how many of them can you answer without help?
So what you're saying is, let's actually encourage the asking of the questions and the answering of questions at the micro level, but not necessarily at the macro level.
So am I allowed to draw on this while we do this?
Well,
would that be weird?
People on audio wouldn't hear it.
Well, I can hold this and do this at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, go for it.
Hang on, we'll see if we can do. Can I get the mic close enough?
I can.
Hang on.
You're good.
All right, keep chattering while I erase part of the board.
Yeah, no. But I think that's I'm excited to hear what Scott's about to do, because I was getting frustrated with that guy in the cart, and the real question that I was trying to ask him was like, dude, if you care so much about being bad, and if you keep on apologizing for hitting it bad, personally, I don't care. So what do you want to do about changing it? So this guy ended up worrying more about no, he didn't answer it. He ended up caring more about what I thought about him than what he thought about his own game, when in reality, dude, I'm going through the biggest 14-hole bender of my life right now. Like, I don't care what your shot is doing. So, sorry, you've probably heard my voice ramble way too much here. The guy, it was a great group that day, but...
So we're going like high-level math stuff here for a second. I'm going to drop down low enough where they can probably see this.
I'll check it. I think they can see almost all of it.
But how high up can I go, Jack, is the real question.
You can go like 3/4 up.
Okay, so like here?
Lower.
There?
That's your exact.
Okay. All right. I'll just stay underneath that. So I think like one of the things you do when you can't solve a problem, so if we use the 5 elements of effective thinking, which is, I told you is like the gateway book to me to solving any problem.
Sounds like a gateway drug at this point.
I know, it is. But it's like, if you can't solve the problem that's in front of you, there's a simpler problem you can't solve. Solve it, which is, now I can kind of see, I'm even following my own logic as to why I'm saying don't take a golf lesson. Because I'm going to the simplest level of understanding, right? Like, I just can't hit it, right? Like, how come I can't hit it, right? Like, that's a terrible question. Like, it's an awful question. How come I can't hit it? Well, you made contact with the ball, so A, that's a wrong question. You hit it. How come I'm not consistent. Well, how do I be more consistent? Like, that's a terribly, like...
Keep on going.
50,000 foot view.
Yep.
It's not even 50,000. You're in the freaking stratosphere. You get to get on Earth somewhere.
Yeah.
To get any traction. So it's like, I'm not consistent. Okay, why aren't you consistent? It's even hard for me to answer this question because it's such a bad question.
Let's use my guy's example. He said, "I never play like this."
All right. Yeah, never play like this.
Okay, like what? Like
what? Why? And like what?
Yeah.
Right. So people just stop asking questions. So this is an emotional
response. Yeah, I never play like
based
this.
question.
Super.
That's red line to black.
Super emotional. Yep.
Right. And so you can't think clearly in that.
Right.
Now, the beauty of emotion is if you can actually solve the problem in the most frustrating place, you're actually going to remember it and ingrain it far deeper, because the heavier and stronger that emotion, the bigger that memory is and the holding of that component is.
I think they call it anchoring, right?
Right. It's called anchoring. So like the more emotional it is, the easier it is to remember. So why, like what? Well, I never pop it up. Okay. And you asked a perfect question, right?
I said, well, like, why do you think you do that?
Why do you think you're doing that? I don't know. Sorry, not an acceptable answer.
Hey, and guess what? For all of you people who are either in a job or in a situation where you are the person asking this, do not, for the love of God, do not put words in their mouth. If you ask them that question,
you stop their own problem solving.
Yes, and if you say that and you're like, oh, well, do you think you're scooping it, or do you think you're, just teeing the ball too high?
Right.
Well, it's like, okay, now they're just going to take one of your outs that you gave them.
Right.
Make them answer it.
Right, because a lot of times they have more connection to the answer.
And also,
they're avoiding.
I probably should not have asked him, but I was just trying to get him to shut up. So, like, this is not an open solicitation for you to go and ask people questions on the golf course.
No, because there are people that we know that do that, and it's a terrible experience by and large if you perpetuate it, or if you give them answers like, hey, you were doing
horrible.
No, you actually don't understand well enough to answer that question. If you keep answering for them, you're going to be in trouble.
Oh my God, yeah.
Why do you think you do that? Well, I don't know. Like, well, what's the club doing? Well, like, I must be swinging underneath it. Okay, well, that, like, the club must be lower than the ball. Great. We established what the club is doing, right? Like, if you can't solve this problem, why? Like, I never pop it up. Why am I popping it up? If you can't solve that one, that means there's one underneath that you can't solve. What's a simpler one? Well, why is the ball getting hit on that part of the club? Somehow the club is underneath the golf ball.
Ooh, this is great, because I like what you're saying, right? Because you're basically establishing what is your biggest question that you do need to solve, right? And if you can't solve it, go until you can solve something and build it back up from there.
Well, so Erica hates this, and I'm going to continue to do it. She doesn't like it, but it's what she's needed for the last 4 or 5 years. Is I always ask her, like, what'd you do on that one? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I was like, no, I'm not answering. I know the answer. But if I give the answer, you'll chase that answer, and you'll use it as the thing.
I'm curious. I got to ask you a question here. I think that I'm very good at understanding what is right and what is wrong in my golf swing at any point in time, other than like a few things that I can't see. Do you think that that is because of problem solving in this way? Do you think it's more of a problem solving thing than an individual student thing? Like, do you think?
Yeah. I think your own learning style can inhibit you a little bit, or your own preconceived notions or your own experiences can limit you. But like, it's fundamentally an inability or an unwillingness to solve a problem.
And just calling it the end of the road, basically.
Right. That's basically what he's doing. He's like, and so then he starts to give up.
Yeah.
Or he starts just getting frustrated. It's just like, it's just worthless, whether he's thinking that or not, right? And so really what's happening is he's carrying that he's having to play in front of these people. He probably plays by himself a lot, right? Probably doesn't count all of his shots when he plays, right? So he's actually playing like this. You never play like this because you never play with anybody. And playing with people is different than playing by yourself. Most people play worse when they play with people. Because there is that added human element if we want to be loved and accepted, right? Like, if I play bad, people are going to see me as that and they're not going to want to associate with me. Why do people that have never played golf that are getting in business, I got to figure out how to play golf now? No, you don't. You can still make plenty of clients without playing golf. Why would you put yourself through that? Well, I don't want people to not include me. So they will work for 3 to 5 years to get good at the game for that reason. And then it's like, why do you like golf? I don't really like golf, right? Like,
that's so good. Yeah, because you didn't learn the golf. You didn't learn golf because you like golf. You learned the golf so that you could be somewhat decent in front of your buddies.
Right. Or
once you get to that point, you're quit.
Potential clients, and they like, you can still win those clients without playing golf.
Yeah, you don't have to win in the match to get the business.
It would be far easier for you to just learn how to become a better salesperson and a better relator than it would be for you to spend how many thousands of dollars and hours to get good at golf.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's great. You're so right.
And so like, by not asking the right questions, ask a better question. Brooks and I were sitting meeting about the building and like all the problems that were coming with trying to get the right one in here. And he asked me, he's like, what's the question we're not asking? What are the questions that we're not asking? That's a good question. That's a great question. Because we're stuck on it. He's like, what's the question? There's a question we're not asking here.
I think it's also worth saying too that this practice that we're teaching right here, it is very fair if you get exhausted by this. There is a oh my gosh,
but it's
an assessment. It's an assessment. It's called it's something along the lines of like workplace tendencies, right? And there's different strengths, right? Some people, tenacity is a huge strength. Like, you will not quit until you get the job done, right? Like, there's some people who are big wonderers, like they love having their head up in the clouds and thinking about the possibilities. There's some people who are galvanizers, the come on, man, like let's get this thing done people, right?
Yep.
So basically, this exercise is a lot of wondering. If this is a frustration for you, then this will be very exhausting. But lean in. You still have to do this, but then try and use what really energizes you, whether that's tenacity, galvanizing, some other things that I'm not thinking of right now. But try and find what you enjoy, going back to our last podcast with the interests, and try and link the two together so that you can get it done.
Well, so I'll give you an example of like where people are stuck right now with cracking the code. They're like, I can't hit the hybrids. Like, I can't hit my hybrids. It's like, well, when do you hit it best? When have you hit it best in CTC? Well, when we were making the half swings hitting at 50 yards. All right, there's part of your answer.
Ooh.
Like, literally, there's part of your answer. Like, you're probably swinging it too big. You're swinging it harder. You don't swing it as well. You're swinging those clubs harder. Swing them softer. Well, it's not going to go anywhere. You fundamentally have a problem. Like, this is still the problem in cracking the code, because it's the problem with every golfer. They still think they need to hit it farther. The irony is the industry is telling you farther, 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 right? That's what they're selling. That's what the USGA is even selling you on to walk the ball back, right? Yeah. Everybody is, and Titleist and all these club manufacturers saying, well, we want it to go longer, right? Like that's everything everybody's talking about.
Golf clubs have literally gotten stronger over the decades.
Right. So like, that's where everybody's chasing. And it's like, this is where I'm bringing it down to, like, why do you need to take a golf lesson? Like, don't just swing softer. It's not hard. Like, if I punch you really hard in your arm right now, it's going to hurt. Man, that hurt. Don't hit me so hard. Oh, that didn't hurt. No kidding. Wow. Like, that there's nothing that is inherently difficult about that.
Oh, so
this
good.
is how people practice. I'm like, dude, the answer's, oh, just can't swing it slower. Yes, you can. You're just choosing not to. And this is where I get to. But in the same token, if you look at the average handicap, like, how many of you would love to be a single-digit handicap? Great. A 0 to 6 handicap, average driving distance is 239 yards for a male. That's hitting it nowhere, okay? Like, you don't have to swing very hard to hit it 240 yards. Like, it's like, and if you go down the next level, it's like 219 to hit it between a 6 and a 12 handicap. You don't have to hit it very far. So swing slower. Like, well, I'm just not going to hit it anywhere. You care what your buddies are going to say about you. Like, I'll give you an example. I was hitting it so bad off the tee. We got no time to warm up. I haven't hit any balls. I don't know what golf swing I'm making down at the PGA show. And I hit it into the center pretty much of the driving range off the first tee box. The ball's 80 yards right. Then my second one went into the middle of the fairway on the other hole to the left.
Oh, my God.
There's 150 yards between my two golf balls. Maybe more. Okay? So, like, no warm-up. We're rushed. We're late. Like, I haven't hit any golf balls. Like, whatever. We picked one. I played the one from the frickin' wherever. And so, go to the second hole. I cold top my drive. Hits a tree, doesn't get past the forward tees. I'm playing from the pine straw. Great. This sucks. This is awful. All right. Make bogey. Got out of there. I'm okay. Go to hole 3. Go ahead and hit a hybrid. Snap hook it onto the road. Like, this is terrible. This is awful. This is not why I came down here. Like, I want to enjoy playing. I have no clue what golf swing I'm making. I'm not, like, in black. I'm just like, I got to figure out how to play this from here. So then I look at Evan. Now, I know one thing for sure. I do this in clinics all the time. It's a great training tool. I looked at Evan. I pulled my ball marker out of my pocket, and I intentionally brought it down because I had the thought that I might need to do this at the show because I have no idea. I haven't had a driver in 3 months. And so I look at Evan Coppola, and I flick him my ball marker. It's my Champions Playbook ball marker. And it says, I said, can you read that to me? He said, yeah. There's one rule. I tee up the ball, tee it up a little higher, kneel down. I hit balls from my knees the rest of the day. I only missed 2 fairways. This is the whole day. And the first one was that one because it just overdrew. I hit it 240 yards right down the center of the fairway the entire round. We get up to the next hole, and Evan thought I was joking because I just did it once. Smoke the next one, just nuke, like dead center perfect from my knees, literally kneeling down, hitting golf balls from here. Now, it's embarrassing. I shouldn't do it, but like, it's the only way I knew how to control the golf ball off the tee in that moment. It's a narrow golf course. There's hazards on both sides. Like, I'm not comfortable. I haven't warmed up. I have no idea what golf swing I can make full swing. I even learned something. Why do I not miss it right and left? Well, because when you close and open the face, when the face is sitting like this, like when you close and open it this way, it goes right and left. When you close and open it this way, it just adds and takes off loft. So I never miss it right or left. I always hit it straight. That's why when you learn to hit the center of the face doing that, you will never miss it right or left. You will always hit it straight.
That's such a good...
and so there was one rule, which was...
shoot a lower score.
And so I did. Like, that's what I had to do.
I've got I think another really good... And this
do
is
something different.
Do something different. This is about like course architecture and like specifically hole number 1 here at Franklin Bridge.
Okay.
There's so many people who just rip their driver out of their bag on hole number 1. And like, you know, if your driving distance is, you know, 240, 250, 260, like, hey, power to you. Like, absolutely.
Knock yourself out.
The fairway's pretty wide at that distance. But like, why? Like, to your point, I feel like I could take an 8-iron off the tee, hit an 8-iron into the fairway, hit an 8-iron just short of the green. If it's sitting down on that lower shelf, just chip it up there and make a putt. You're out of there with par. Like, it's. Right. I feel like there's so many different ways to play the game, and a lot of people will just default to ripping the longest club out of their bag.
And so here's the message, right? So like the super speed things and the stack and like all of these things are driving people to hit it farther. Why? Hank used to say this. Most of the instruction comes from the top down. I'm having lots of ahas right now in case you can't tell.
You are.
Like most of the instruction comes from the tour and filters down. And there's value to that.
Totally. Absolutely.
But what's the big message on the tour? 10 yards further equals $1 million on the tour. Like that's real data.
Yeah.
So like, but the guy that's a club player, how far do you hit it off the tee, sir? I hit it 265 yards. What's your handicap? I'm a 15. Well, the reason you're 15 handicap is not because you're hitting it too short. Because remember, 259 yards gets you under a 0. Like 0 to 6 is 239. And 6 to 12 is 219.
So this is a question that we had.
Precision problem.
It's exactly, and this is
you swing too hard, and it's what you say.
Right.
So swing slower.
And this is what we were talking about in our group text thread the other day with me, you, Tate, and Avery, I believe.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like, okay, like if these numbers that are filtered down to us, right, like what you were just talking about, the driving distance numbers, it's not necessarily about how far you can hit it. It's about the dispersion at that length, right? And so, and I was bringing
it
this
straighter. Guess what? You're going to hit it farther.
Exactly. Right. Bringing this to my round the other day that we were talking about earlier, that 80 that I had, guess what? All those bogeys on the first 3-4 holes, guess what they were? OBs.
Right, they're hitting out of play.
Like they're out of play shots. You take those out. It's not that my putting was bad. It's not that my wedges were bad. It's not that even my irons were bad. It was OB shots.
Didn't hit it far enough.
It's not that I didn't hit it far enough. I can hit the ball over 300 yards.
In fact, you probably would have been better off hitting 7-iron off the tee on those couple of holes. You would have scored lower.
I can guarantee you that I would have.
Right. So like this is why like I'm going, why do you need a golf lesson? I just swing too hard. I was like, yeah, but you simultaneously swing too hard because you think you should hit it farther.
Yeah.
Because you think hitting it farther is going to score lower. It's not.
No.
It's not going to do it. And like, well, Scott, like so-and-so got the stack system and you did the speed thing last year. Basically, all we did with the speed thing, we had fun with the speed sticks and we gave them all the training protocols. But really, we just taught you how to hit it straighter. Newsflash, I just taught you how to hit it straighter.
Because also, tell me this, isn't the club face more stable at higher speeds?
Not necessarily.
I thought I had something there.
Well, I have 119. I hit it 150 yards right to left with 2 shots in a row.
Fair enough.
So clearly that's not stable. So, but like...
Oh, but guess what, dude?
Slower.
Think about TaylorMade.
Knockdown.
Dude, we're on it right now. But think about TaylorMade, dude. The entire past 5 years is all about speed. Then guess what? Magically this year, we have 10K moment of inertia. It's the most stable club face that we've ever had.
Oh my gosh. But they're still going to sell it around and then hitting it farther, and Callaway's done the same thing where you got the 10K and Ping's done it too. It's like, yeah, and it's allowed us to pick up 7 yards. Like they're still working it around the distance thing because they know the distance sells. But it's like, if you told people they could be 5 shots lower, hit it 20 yards shorter, and I guarantee you will hit it more solid. Like, this is why I've been asking this question of how much could we actually fix somebody if I just told them your entire lesson was learning how to swing slow enough and maintain your balance at the finish? How many problems could we solve with that basic thing?
To your point, it's right here. It's the questions. It's the questions that you ask.
Right.
And what I don't understand too about
asking bad questions.
You're asking bad questions, and for example, the people who are like, oh, do I hit a 7-iron here or gas an 8? And people are like, oh, just they'll hit the 8 just because they want to get it there in the shortest amount of club. It's like, well, guess what? Now your spin rate goes up in the air, your ball balloons, and guess what? It's going even shorter than your 7 if you were going to hit it.
Right.
Or your 6 or your pitching wedge if you were going to hit it.
It's just I had one of my juniors has Arcos on his stuff, and I pulled it up today. I was like, 35% of your shots end up short of the green.
What do you think you need to do?
3.5 out of 10. So it's called 4 out of 10. Almost half your shots come up short of the green. Take more club. What? I mean, what are we doing? Instead, he's just swinging harder and he's not hitting it a solid. Duh. Why does a tour player's dispersion pattern on TrackMan, or really high-level college players, their dispersion pattern on TrackMan looks like a sideways, you're looking at the side of a piece of pizza. It's thin. because they're hitting it in the same part of the face. The ball goes right and left. They haven't missed left and right of their target. But like, it's the same distance because it's hitting the same part of the face. And it's because they're not swinging too hard. Like Raymond Floyd in his book, The Art of Scoring, talks about like, I went out there, I was a long hitter, I thought I could just mash it around. I'm getting smoked by guys hitting it 20 yards shorter than me. He figured out, I better swing slower. He's one of the best players ever played the game with one of the weirdest looking golf swings. Like, but the tour says I need to hit. No, you don't, sir. You hit it 265 yards and you're at 18 handicap. Now, my ladies, on the other hand, are in a different category because the courses are built too long. Like if you, sorry, Jack's like, finally some energy out of you, right? Like, so I did this math. So if you look at the numbers they've been pulling from Rory, or we sent these back and forth, right? Like,
yes,
you look at, okay, if you look at the driving distance of, say, Avery, who's in our group, right? It's probably like 250 yards. He should be playing from like 6,000 yards to play the game the same as some of the longest players in the world. So like, well, the tour players, they just have wedges in everywhere. Yeah, you could too if you moved up a set of tees. Like, yeah, well, these are the men's tees. No, they're not. Play from the set of tees based on how far you hit the golf ball. That would solve so many problems. You'd stop swinging so hard.
I saw a post on social media. It was a course that had the tee, like they had a sign on hole number 1. Right. It was an A-frame sign, and it had the tee. It had the tee colors on there, the links, right. And then it had a suggested handicap number. Where instead of calling it the ladies' tees, the senior tees, the men's tees, whatever it is, it's the 0 to 3 handicap, the 3 to 7 handicap one.
That was a good solid move. It needs to go off of driving distance. Solid. I think like Benton Brook Golf Club did it great. Like they put a whole nother set of forward tees. Like the shortest Franklin Bridge will play is I think 4,400 yards, 4,500 yards. That's for the average female driving distance. That's roughly 700 to 800 yards too long. That would be like me, like when we went and played down at
the Fighting Joe. Yeah.
Fighting Joe.
Yeah.
8,200 yards is too long. I don't hit it far enough to play from there. Then I just swing harder, right? And I play worse because I'm trying to keep up with a golf course that's too long for me. And like that's half the battle of people swinging too hard because they're playing from tees that are too far back. But I hit it 250 yards. Yeah, you should play from 62. Go up there and play from the forward tees.
So I think what you're getting off of is the data, and I would completely agree with you based on the driving distance, right? However, theoretically, if we were going to put an A-frame sign out there that said if you hit it X amount on your drives, you need to play from this tees. Do you know how many people would go on there and be playing further back than they need to because they say, "Oh, I hit it over 300 yards. I hit it 315 every time."
So what Benton Brook did is they based it on clubhead speed, and so they measured your clubhead speed before you went out.
Huh. Interesting.
So these are the tees you should play based on your clubhead speed. You should play up at 2.
That's so interesting.
Because then it's not based on how the ball rolls out or anything like that. It's just based on your clubhead speed. Like a 100-mile-an-hour clubhead speed under just average conditions, like not super firm, not super soft, not downwind, none of that, will at its max, like total distance, go 250 yards.
Dang. How many yards does it move up every
year? Your yards times 2.5. Your clubhead speed times 2.5.
So your ball will, in theory, go 2.5 yards further based on every mile per hour that you add after that.
Mm-hmm. Roughly.
Dang, that's cool.
Some of your higher clubhead speeds, you can go to like 2.76. But you've got difference, like it's all about spin rates and all that. Like people are like, oh man, I only hit 250 yards. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I can hit it farther than that. Like, yeah, you can if the conditions allow it to. And so TrackMan, like on this driving range, will measure that ball rolling all the way out. Well, it's not actually rolling out that far in most conditions. Like you play number 2 when it's soft out here, it doesn't roll very far. But you play number 2 when it's downwind, hit 300. Like I'll hit it 360 yards on number 2.
Well, yeah,
I don't actually hit it 360.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say with, like, for example, on number 1 right now. If you're playing Franklin Bridge right now in the month of February, you do not have to take driver off of there. You can take like a 5-iron, 4-iron, 3-iron, and if it hasn't rained, even if you chunk the dang thing, it's going to roll out.
Yeah.
Like a long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the only thing hitting it farther has the potential for you to do is to have a shorter club in to make your precision tighter. But we don't obsess about the precision. It's like people want to be more consistent, but they still fundamentally want to hit it far. They still care that hitting it farther matters. Like that's still the biggest thing underneath everybody's decisions. Pretty much. I mean, occasionally I have a student here swinging too slow. Like, that's a thing. Like, it's it's not that hard of a game, right? So, like, I need to go on this other tangent. Like, you don't need to take a golf lesson to swing slower. Or to hold your finish until the ball stops moving. If you can't, like, take the exact same finish every time and stick it like a gymnast, you're swinging too fast. Well, I can't slow down. I was like, yes, you can. Like, you can run and walk, can't you? Yes. Which one's faster? Running. Can you run faster? Can you sprint? Yeah, I might break something. Oh, look at there. You should probably not do that.
Right? Oh my God,
like,
dude.
But it's like, so here's the other argument that I do, and then somebody be like, well, if you put two hands on the club, it's different. I was like, but is it? Like, if you put the club in your dominant hand, and that's the side that you swing the golf club from. Like, if you're right-handed and you play golf right-handed, and you just swing the club, the number of people that will swing the club on plane and square is astronomical. We could go walk that range with the worst golf swings and just have them put it in their right hand and just swing it, and you film before and after. It's fundamentally, you'd be like, are these even the same person? Like, they know how to swing a club. They know how to throw an object. Like, if you gave them a paddle and asked them and gave them a hammer and a nail, they can do that action. You give them an axe against a tree, they can do that's they know how to do that. You give them an axe and go this way. They know how to swing stuff. Like, it's not hard. But it really is hard because it's really complicated. But like, and which piece fixes which? But like, if every student came to us having their tempo under control and feeling like they're swinging it with their dominant arm and not swinging it back so far, it's like, well, when you put two hands on, they can't go back as far. Oh, maybe we shouldn't go back as far. Like, guys, guess what? There's the answer. It's like, and so they will answer the question that way. Well, I can't swing. Like, obviously when I swing with one hand, I swing back farther, and like I can go back farther. I was like, well, when you swing it, just swing it halfway back and swing it through. Well, you still swing it on plane and square. So when you put your left hand on or your lead hand on, like, just go. If you can only go back that far and swing it on plane, that's how far back you're allowed to swing the club. Well, then I can't hit it far enough, right? We're back to the same freaking thing, which is stop trying to hit it far. Stop buying the speed sticks. Stop buying all that stuff because you don't need it. In fact, we're about to have E-Track here to do a physical eval. I will prove to all of you that you are trying to swing faster than you can actually control. And you need to stop it. That's why you get hurt when you play. Like, you just don't, like, you can drop your strokes. I don't know. Like,
hey, I found the title of the podcast. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Swing slower, shoot lower.
Oh, so good. That's so good. That's so good. It's just like, if you did those two things, how many problems would actually be solved? Like, what do you care more about? You care more about hitting it farther. Everything you say and do tells me everything you believe about the game of golf. Champions Playbook, Chapter 1. Like, what? If you're trying to swing slower and you keep swinging too fast or too hard, then you care the most about hitting it far. And you think that hitting it far is the most important thing to scoring lower. Like, that's obvious. Like, if you hit your putts too hard, you think you have to make 25 footers. You think you have to hold 10 footers. You think that, never leave a putt short. You think that that's what shoots lower scores. It doesn't. Tour players make 1 out of 5 out of 10, 1 out of 2 at 8 feet. Stop trying to make your 8 footers. Stop trying to make your 10 footers. Just lag it up next to the hole and tap it in and be done. Like, the point, like, there's a certain sense in which it's like, you don't need any help to do that.
You know what's so funny about the putting thing? I got to go off on a small rant here on the putting thing, right? Okay, granted, tour players are playing on the purest of pure conditions at all times, right? Okay, let's get that out of the way first, right? There's so many people who I've seen, like, when I play with and I'm putting, like, where everybody's putting, and just the amount of people who just will blow the putt by and just, like, can't figure out putting. Or they, like, dude, the same exact guy.
Carson's going to love this podcast.
The same guy who said, I'm just popping everything up, was the same guy who told me on the first tee, he was like, you know what I figured? We play way too much break on this golf course. My rule of thumb is I tell everybody, take what you think and divide it in half. And I'm like, that's a great way to blow everything by the hole.
It's a great way to make yourself worse.
But
if anything, take whatever break you think and play double it.
Yes.
And hit it softer.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to figure out. But back to the tour.
You should do.
The people, like everybody who watches the tour, wonder how all these players get quote unquote drip speed, right? Where the ball just drips into the hole, right? Or at the very end of the last rotation, the famous Tiger Woods, it just goes.
The number of balls that seem to just fall, like they sit on the edge for 5 seconds and then fall in.
It's because what? They're playing the maximum amount of break for the speed that they're hitting the ball. And so, like, I just don't understand why people, if you want drip speed, if you want the ball to just fall in the hole, what do you think you have to do? I gotta hit it softer.
But they think they have to make it, so they have to get it to the hole.
That's not
You got to
true.
get it to the hole. No, you don't.
In fact, statistics would tell you that the hole is actually wider the slower that you hit the ball.
That's correct. The data supports that strongly. Now, that means that sometimes you'll leave it short.
Right. But that's fine when you can just tap your second one and you don't have to make an 8 to 10 foot comebacker every single time.
I had a guy who had 2 or 3 rounds in a row with averaging more than 3 3-putts. He had 4
averaging more than 3 putts?
Averaging.
Oh my God.
And I looked at him, I was like, I was watching him putt. Like, the technique looked clean. It was good. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to not 3-putt that many times. And he went too hard and he went too soft. And I put him at random spots around the hole. So I'm looking to see if there's a pattern to it. I was like, is it downhill putts? Is it uphill putts? Does he not play enough break? His reads were pretty good. I was like, hey, I'm going to give him a fake name. Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, why don't you just try to leave every putt a foot short? His speed was money. He left almost every putt a foot short. And there's ones that went a little by the hole and went like 6 inches by the cup. Didn't make any. But didn't 3-putt. Next round, no 3-putts.
Hey, and guess what, everybody?
I think it was the next 2 rounds. Didn't have a single 3-putt, and then he had 1 in his 3rd round. So now you're averaging a third of a 3-putt per round instead of almost 4.
Guess how many strokes that saves if you're averaging more than 3 putts at a hole? 18!
No. Oh, no. He wasn't averaging. He was averaging 3 putts per round.
Oh, 3 per round. Oh,
but
my
still,
God.
But like per round, that's 3 shots. Over the course of 3 rounds, that's almost 10 shots.
Yeah, it's 9 if you're playing a 3-hole or a 3-round tournament, or
right?
something.
That's 9 shots.
9 shots.
I go to watch universities, and they're like, "Man, these guys just can't putt." I was like, "Cause they're all trying to make them. Stop trying to make them. Just put it next to the hole."
Dude, I thought you said he was averaging a 3-putt.
No.
Oh my goodness.
No, but I have players that do that.
Yeah.
Like, well, do you hit it too hard or too soft? Well, I do both. Fundamentally, you're still trying to make it, so you're hitting it too hard, and so then you hit it too hard too many times, and then you hit it too soft.
On the downhill putts, and you
Right.
hit the uphill ones too hard, the downhill ones too soft.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's just like, no. Like, let's stop this behavior. Just leave it a foot short. But I'm going to leave it short. And they're going to say, you hit it with your purse. You're going to, like, people are going to make comments, so you care more about what people think about you. Like, walk in with a lower scorecard and rub it in their face every single time.
Here's the other thing. If you're more of an immediate gratification person, guess what? If you 2-putt things from hole 1, nobody's going to tell you hit it with your purse, because you're going to be dusting them already by the time you get to hole 3.
And if they keep giving that to you, it's because they're frustrated that you're beating the snot out of them, so they're going to try and get under your skin, so you'll hit it too hard, and then you'll 3-putt, and then they'll be like, well, at least you got it there, and then you're stuck back in your cycle again of you think you have to hit it harder, and you think you have to hit it in the hole. You just have to get close.
Also, you people too that are saying, "Oh my God, I hit it with my purse." Let's stop saying that when we do stuff like that. Like,
because
just get it there, man. Like, no, like
you don't have to just get it there.
If your read was right and your pace was just a little bit short, like, fine, just tap it in and go get a birdie on the next hole.
Right. You're gonna make some of them.
Oh my God!
But you're gonna miss far more than you're gonna make.
The moment my game really started to shift in the past month was really when I decided that, like, okay, like, I'm going to try and make every single putt, but we're going to do it with the slowest amount of speed.
Mm-hmm.
And how many stress-free pars I've had in 2024, too many to count even at this point, which is amazing. And if people just like did that more, just try and make everything at the slowest possible speed.
It just,
I promise you'll warm up.
The game's not that hard, and yet it's endlessly complex at the same time. Like, there are some people who just don't know how to move their body, and they need somebody to show them how to do that. Some people don't have any sports background, so this is really, really foreign. So you need somebody to show you how to do that. Like, I get that sometimes it's not intuitive, but the vast majority of people could do some of the most basic things. So I'm basically telling you, don't take a golf lesson. Or when you come to take a golf lesson, have the most basic elements done. So that way, when we do give you the nuance, which is required to play this game at the level that most people desire, there is nuance required. You can change it faster, and you make our job a lot easier. Like, it's like, well, you can get Blast Motion, this fancy sensor device on the end of your club for $250, and it'll help you work on your tempo. Just swing slower. I can't. Yes, you can.
Let's wrap this one up, man. That's really good. Swing slower, shoot lower. That's it, man. That's literally it. Like,
and don't take a golf lesson, but come take a golf lesson.
That's right. That's right.
Don't be surprised if all I give you is swing slower, stake your finish.
Swing slower, stick your finish. Maybe a fun round for you guys if you're out there. See how low you can score with
how short
you can hit it. Take the most amount of club. And this is not meaning like take a 5-iron from 80 yards, but you know, try and take 1 or 2 more clubs.
Take 2 more clubs.
Take 2 more clubs. And then when you're putting, try and make every single putt, but at the slowest possible speed. I swear if you do that over an 18-hole period, you might have 1 3-putt, but I guarantee you won't have more than 3 or 4. I can almost guarantee you that.
Yeah, you might have 1. You're not going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Amen to that. Thanks y'all so much for listening here. Remember, play with the pod in Johnson City at Johnson City Country Club on March 31st. $750 per team. It's a team of 3.
Yep.
So come on out. You get to play 9 holes with me, 9 holes with Scott. You'll get to play the whole 18 when you're there. So it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks guys so much for listening, watching, viewing, subscribing, wherever you guys are at. We love you. We'll see you next time. Peace.